All right, in 3, in 2, in 1, Matt, we are back here on this morning that we are alive, and that is something to be happy about. You know what else is happy about, Matt? I can tell you unofficially, we are Ivanka Trump's 32nd podcast that she passes by on the way to Martha Stewart's podcast. Matt, how are you doing today?
I don't give a shit about Ivanka Trump. I don't. I wish we had finally heard back from Harvey Keitel, because
we still wait.
Still want to talk to him, man.
Still waiting, but in the meantime, we can talk movies. You know, sometimes I think during the week, man, what are we going to talk about on the podcast? And then 87 things in the movie world happened, and it gets so exciting. I'm
honestly,
so excited.
Last time we talked,
yes,
I had a lot to say about the Oscars, and after the last couple of days, I might be going back to thinking that Honora might just like sweep everything, because man, they are sweeping everything.
Has almost come full circle on Honora again, just because everybody was so kind of crappy or had bad news and bad press. So yeah, that's the thing that's coming up very soon. Right. It's crazy. It's just upon us. I still have failed to watch The Brutalist, but we can talk about that a little bit later in a different context.
Do you feel kind of dirty not seeing it in the theater?
You know what? I went back and forth with myself on that, and I did discuss it a little bit last time. But honestly, 5%, I lose a little street cred. But I've been watching as weird a movies as possible recently to try to balance that out. That's been my goal. I go back to watching film school movies in order to make myself feel better about being an original Criterion member, just in case anybody wants to question my street cred. What
were you watching?
What was I watching this week? We'll get to that at the end. Also, I have to look at my letterbox. I don't remember nothing about nothing. So if it's not logged, I don't know.
I don't log everything. Like, to me, like that seems like so much work that I don't want to do.
I just do it right after the movie. But again, it's really just for my kind of, have I watched this movie, what I kind of thought about that. It's not necessarily for anybody else.
Now, I would love a printout that shows how many minutes of a movie I watched before turning it off or going to something else, because that's how my ADHD rattled brain is working right now. Like, I'll see a scene, I'm like, oh, I want to watch this, and then I'll go to that, and then it's like, oh, but that reminds me of this other scene. Then I'll just skip around, and like I'll just end up watching 2 hours worth of 3-minute scenes.
Man, I don't do that. Once I'm locked in, I'm locked in. Even if it's a kind of a crap movie, I'm there, and I love that.
I guess having kids maybe affects it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. That's going to be quite different. I have a dog that annoys me during movies. Other than that,
oh yeah, that's the total same thing. Right.
I said other than that, I got nothing. I wasn't comparing those.
A dog versus two human beings.
Yeah. Yours is a little bit more difficult, I would imagine. Ooh, you know what? Team. Somebody forgot to do a plug-in over here. So we're going to see if this thing can make it to the end of the day. Matt's running low on storage. So we're going to keep this a succinct hour and a half today. That's the goal. Nothing else matters, though. Breaking news. Can't even talk today. Thursday, it was declared Richard Kelly is back in our lives. Richard Kelly says that he's got enough scripts for the rest of his life, so he's ready to go direct again. Your friend from USC, what do you think about the great, the wonderful, the powerful, Donnie Darko's own, Southland Tales on, the Box's own, number 4's on its way, Richard Kelly? Are we all excited?
You know, I am, but he's not my friend. I wish he was. I wish he was, because, he seems cool, but he was before me at SC. I got there, shortly after he had left. But, I've never beaten around the bush at my view on Donnie Darko, where it's like, I liked it the first time I saw it, and then I listened to the director's commentary, and I was like, oh, he's seen a different movie than I am. And then I watched the director's cut, and I'm like, I don't think I like this anymore. But Southland Tales is one of the most bizarre, beautiful, misunderstood movies that I could equally argue it being the best movie ever made and the worst movie. Like, yes. It somehow is a quantum element that exists in two states at the same time.
Oh, I see what you did there. I see what you
Thank
did.
you.
Also, it's
Thank
been
you.
nice that The Rock's thinking about. We'll get to that in a second, but the Scorsese Rock thing, everybody's like, oh, he proved that he can act before, and they show clips from Southland Tales. That's like, yeah.
He can't act. It's just, he's gotten into the brand,
Sure.
because once you get to be worth that much, you have to protect the brand, and deviating. Like, just ask Tom Cruise in the late 90s about what going to shoot Magnolia and then Eyes Wide Shut.
Sure.
Apparently Eyes Wide Shut alone cost him over $400 million because he could have been making other movies during that time.
Of course, yeah.
So, yeah. But, and man, I didn't want to watch The Box. I'd heard nothing but bad things about it, and I watched The Box, and I love that movie. It is so weird, and it takes swings that I love to see in movies that no one else does. And, I can't wait. If he wants to do more weird, sci-fi stuff, please bring it on and cast your movies the way you have been, because I love it. It's just nothing but comedians not being comedians and serious actors, doing weird stuff. I love it. I absolutely love it.
It is beautiful. How about this time bring back the cast from In Living Color and put them all in your movie like you did SNL for Southland Tales?
It's kind of like half of what they did in Earth Girls Are Easy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I
love Earth
completely
Girls Are
agree.
Easy. That is one of my favorite 80s movies.
Hey, they have sold the James Bond franchise. It is no longer with the people that had it before, so now it's with somebody else, and I say that in vague terms because none of this matters to me, and that's why we check in with our foremost James Bond expert on the show. Matt, tell everybody what's going on with
You know more
this.
about James Bond than I do. I'm actually not a big James Bond fan. I like a couple of them. I think most of them are pretty silly. I always thought it was funny that this spy was going around telling everyone exactly who he was all the time. That it's one of the reasons I actually like Casino Royale, where he gives his name and Ava Green says, "You just gave your name." He's like, "Yeah." Of course he knows who I am. Of course he knows that I'm here. I'm not going to pretend. At least they did that. Okay, so people have been saying that this has basically just been Bezos finally just ponying up so much money to get these people to go away so they can just make stuff.
Sure.
But I'm going to go back to what Ian Fleming once said, which was Americans will never be able to make a good James Bond movie because they don't understand irony. And I kind of agree with him. I don't know if a studio like Amazon is going to give us, what we need or want from Bond.
What?
I hope so.
What? You're talking
but
crazy.
It also seems like they just might do a TV series and try to milk it and make like another Jack Reacher.
Hey, what happened to that Lord of the Rings show they were doing?
They're getting a season 3.
Oh, that's on, and they've already had 2 seasons?
Yeah.
Okay.
I watched the first season and I can't remember anything from it.
That is a streamer special. Do you want to watch something that nothing sinks in any way, shape, or form? Yes, please.
Not saying that this goes with your sentiment just now, but by the way, I apologize for my sound. I have been sick for a week. But I just watched The Gorge.
Oh, okay. The ridiculously advertised movie, but I'm very interested in it. Hit me, go.
Are you? So there's a scene where Anna Taylor-Joy and Miles Teller take turns playing chess and the drums. And it feels kind of weird, because both of them, have been in very famous projects about those things.
Yes.
But The Gorge...
Are you saying they went a little inside baseball there?
I don't know if it's inside baseball or they just hired them and were like, oh, shoot, But it just felt But that movie is like... It's using a filmic language that is new, and it's like the online streamer filmic language where it doesn't feel like tense moments take the time to be tense, and it's just beat. And I don't know if that's a problem from production or if it's from the script or what, but it feels like it could have been I don't want to talk bad about it because it's not a bad movie. It's just like the actual gorge part of it is not a significant section of the film, and obviously it's going to be the more expensive part because the rest of it's basically in like these two like bases that are just like rooms, right? And it feels like when you have an hour's setup for what this place is going to be, and then you're down there for 25, 30 minutes or whatever, it feels like it should either be nonstop, like I can't catch my breath action, or you're constantly building the dread. And it kind of wants to do both, but doesn't have enough time to. So,
can I ask you a Miles Teller question?
Yeah.
How much do you think that the disaster that was Fantastic Four still occupies space in his mind when he's making decisions about making movies?
I'm sure it's a pretty big part of it. But then again, he probably got over that with Top Gun Maverick. Because
you would hope.
It's like,
when
when John Hamm found out they were making a Top Gun Maverick, and he told he found out they wanted him for a part, but he didn't know what. And his management said, "Well, we don't know what part it is." He's like, "Yeah, I don't care. I'm going to be in Top Gun 2, and if I'm not, you're not going to be my agent anymore." Right. You know, if you get a call from Tom Cruise saying, "Hey, do you want to be the number 2 guy in Top Gun 2?" It doesn't matter how bad, Fantastic Four hit or didn't hit. You're not going to say no to him, right? And I think that being incredibly successful might have hopefully washed away some of those bad feelings about doing those kinds of movies.
I hope so. I hope that he continues to take swings.
Yeah.
War Dogs is an underrated Miles Teller movie.
And
as
it's not
far
like
as
he's
I'm concerned.
bad in Fantastic Four. He's not. It's
just
there's a lot wrong with that movie, and it's not him.
There is a ton wrong with that. Is there anything more misunderstood by the people of the world than how much people in the entertainment business make and don't make?
Okay.
There was a big hullabaloo this week because the director for The Brutalist it was discussed how little of money that he made and the understanding that it's not even just a little amount of money that he made for making the film. You have to spend the next 2 years of your life without work paying for a lot of the stuff yourself to promote your movie. It is insane what these guys have to go through.
And it's not just him. The big part of it was he said that, first of all, he made literally nothing off of it. Mm-hmm. And that he talked to several other directors of the Oscar-nominated Best Picture films, and they have not made enough to pay their rent. Yep. And on a smaller scale, when I was younger and making movies with people for a company, there was a director who had to sell his Red Rock lens system so he could afford to pay rent, as he had a movie that was going into every video rental store in the country.
Yep.
My favorite one is Ed McMahon. Ed McMahon had a 30-year job. 30 years in show business, which is unheard of. It's like that show and The Simpsons and like that and like Gunsmoke, and that's it.
I was going to say, can I have some Bonanza in there?
I don't think Bonanza went 30, but did it? I think maybe like 22, but Gunsmoke was like 112 years.
Yeah, 1,000 years.
But he had a job where he got to spend 2 hours out of his day sitting next to Johnny Carson, right? And saying, "Here's Johnny," right? That was his job. And on top of that, he did Publishers Clearinghouse for 2-3 decades. And then Star Search for like 15, 20 years, right? And he died broke. It happens so often. And especially now that like you don't have the 80s sitcom residual checks.
Sure.
Like you're not getting these, I get paid $2 million an episode kind of things. Like Sydney Sweeney a couple of years ago said she couldn't afford to take a vacation because the time off from work would bankrupt her or something. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Hollywood accounting is one of the
man.
shadiest places
why doesn't
that
Doge go
anything
after
exists.
that?
Do I?
If Doge is going to go after something, go after Hollywood accounting, because it's like well known for being fraudulent.
Yep.
Like they said Predator never made any money, but it has like 7 sequels. How does that work? How does that work?
And I'm not calling out like this idea of the $100 stapler, right? So that is not.
No.
I think that's a misnomer. That's a mislead because
it's stuff like
you buy things in
a
bulk
company
kind of thing. You have to divide out that number.
itself to distribute its own movie.
Yes, that's the problem.
Or, hey, we're going to shoot Die Hard in our building that we're going to rent out to the production at an exorbitant rate. That way you basically get to say this movie never makes money. The director of Willy Wonka, he was in court for like 20 years trying to get his residuals. What's his name? Peter Jackson had to go to court to get what he was owed. You know, it's... I think
and most people can't afford to do that.
Right.
So they just keep that.
It was like one of the Harry Potter movies made like $1 billion and they said it lost money.
Yeah.
No, it didn't.
I don't get it. I don't get it at all. I mean, I don't get people not understanding that. Like, there needs to be some more understanding of the sacrifice.
And now that, like, movie studios usually aren't the only part of a company, you know, like you're owned by a larger entity.
Yeah.
Man, there's no better way of not paying taxes than showing you made a bunch of movies that were supposed to make money and didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you made a movie that cost $300 million and you put it on streaming.
Yeah. Yep. Let's continue to say mean things about the studios because you're going to tell me who told this story this week. I apologize. I don't remember. But there was a story told. I remember now. It was Maya. She talked about going into a studio meeting and this idea that... Do what?
Yeah, I remember the story.
You're just talking about, well, maybe I'm not going to have social media anymore. I just want to take a break. And they're like, well, that's fine, but you still have to add up to X number of social media people, so everybody else in the movie has to have those numbers. That sentence alone is the most ridiculous thing you can think about when you think about movies, / I kind of understand too. Take it away.
Okay. So at that point, they're just thinking that followers means people in the seats, and that is not the same thing. As we have found, there are certain places where the people on it, they will not go over. You have people who will like our TikToks, and if you have, thank you, but they will not follow us, or they won't go to another site to see more content. They are just happy scrolling. So just because you have the followers doesn't mean they're going to go pay to see a movie. And it's funny because some of the biggest stars don't have social media, right? But then again, do stars even...
Not the new stars, only the old stars.
Right. But then again, do stars sell a movie anymore? Because I don't think they do.
Three of them do.
If that were the case, Sam and Colby would have made more money in the theater.
I agree.
Yeah, you know, it's. I think the business is in a place where nobody truly understands it. But I've heard about this for a while now, where they will hire you based on your social followers, and that'd be terrible because if I was wanting to do that, you know, because I am not good at social media. My Instagram is just weird pictures that I've taken and like no captions. You know, I don't care about cultivating a following. It's just like an artistic outlet for me.
Sure.
But,
so, you know, then we get into this idea of, you know, what is art now versus everything else. And I mean, again, like I said, I understand to a point because those numbers are not just tickets that you're being sold, but those numbers are also for people who are buying merchandise. Those are for people who are talking about the movie so other people hear it and then go to the theater. Those numbers are just multiplying the opportunities that you have to be able to get people to know that you have a movie out and participate that in some way, shape, or form. So there is a small amount of me that does understand that. But disregarding a project because it doesn't meet those numbers is just a reminder that the streamers only look at numbers. Like nothing else exists to them. And it's really, really sad, and it makes me sad, man.
Yeah, me too. And like I said, just because you have the numbers on Instagram or TikTok does not mean they're going to show support anywhere else.
Yeah, sure. You just hope.
Right.
You just hoping. Hey, you know what? We're going to get to the big topics, but before we do, I just want to check in with you, see if maybe this is the point in the show where we can get canceled or not. Let's find out. I'm throwing a sentence at you and seeing how you respond. I only need one sentence back on your response to not only the former president, but also the former vice president are now official actors at CAA. Give me your one sentence response to how you feel about that.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
It's fucking weird.
It's weird. But, CAA doesn't handle just, acting in movies.
Agreed.
It's also like speaking engagements and stuff like that. So if you need a manager, especially if you're going to be doing, a book later and then you're going to have to do a public, it's just easier to do it that route. But the fact that CAA got them both right around the same time, it's just... there are a lot of actors out there who still aren't repped, who've just got to be, shaking their fists at the sky.
Nothing is real
anymore. Hey, surprise
topic.
Surprise topic.
Surprise topic!
Okay, so have you been following the new Jurassic Park movie?
I am aware that it is a thing. I am aware that my lady said she wanted to be in it, so that's very exciting that Scarlett Johansson is going to be in it. Other than that, no, I don't know anything about it.
So it's funny because when they were looking for a director, they said they wanted someone to come in and shoot it and not have too many of their own ideas because they didn't have that kind of schedule. Not saying that Universal was working on this during the strike, because of course not. Of course they would.
What?
No one would do that. But it seemed like they had a movie ready to go the second the strike ended. So they brought in Gareth Edwards, who is very good at this kind of thing. He shoots beautiful looking movies.
Do we call this a turn and burn?
Maybe. So, I'm a huge, if you can see behind me, huge Jurassic Park fan. Probably my favorite movie. And this movie... it's a little... I hope I like it, but, I keep wondering what we're wanting out of a franchise like this. Because the first one did have some stuff to say. But also, I wanted to bring it up because so the supposed plot for this is that Hammond had a different island. So this is island
actually, I do know this. Yes, but go ahead.
Island number 3.
Yes.
And this one has all the genetic mistakes from them trying to make the dinosaurs correct in the first place. And this is funny to me because this is actually a big part of something that I wrote. I've never done fan fiction or a spec script except for my buddy Paul and I. Hi, Paul. For years, we met on a Jurassic Park message board back in the early 2000s. He's from Australia. And for years, we talk about what would we want to do if we could do anything, make something for Jurassic Park. And we always thought, finding out how the hell a guy who said his first thing that he made was a flea circus, how on earth he winds up owning a company that clones dinosaurs. That seems like a big switch, And we basically came up with a story, and I wrote a pilot for it, and we've broken 3 seasons of a show about John Hammond, going from him in Piccadilly Circus all the way up to the movie. And one of our things was we didn't give him a third magical island, but what we did say was, it would be interesting to see the trial and error. And, how on earth they got from someone saying, how do we clone a dinosaur, to actually having a dinosaur. And that was a big part, especially of our second season, was the genetic mistakes. And to see this in the new one was really interesting because there's actually been some online talk about our project. And if you go search Jurassic Park prequel, I think we're the first or second thing that comes up. So yeah, it's really interesting to see that. And actually the last movie, the last shot of the last movie has a shot that we had in our concept art that got online. So yeah.
So this segment should be titled "Lawsuit Pending."
No, just send me a paycheck. Let me go away. But no, it's actually again, I've never done anything like this. I've never made a Star Wars fan film. I never did anything like that. But the pilot that I wrote for this is, I think, the best thing I've ever written in my life. And if the movie gods came down and said, "Hey, what do you want to do?" It's like, I want to do this series. It's 3 seasons, and like I said, we broke it every episode, and it's the best thing I've ever written.